Hi, I'm Dennis McGinn, founder and CEO for vehicle reconditioning and communications company RapidRecon. 3 times a month at your place, we visit guests at their place to engage in conversations about the auto industry. Today we're talking with Seve Astorg, co-founder and CEO of iPacket, a digital vehicle presentation and delivery solution for the automotive industry. Seve and I will talk about the integration of digital reconditioning into digital retailing, innovating car sales today, and creating a unique way to bridge fixed and variable operations. With that, let's get at it. Seve, how does your technology help dealers bridge fixed and variable operations, and what does that mean exactly? And why is
Well, first,
bridging important to dealers today?
good questions. And first, thanks for having me on, Dennis. I was just excited. You guys have really done a great job with this and have got a great audience behind it. So I was excited to sit down and talk to you today on camera. Um, as I told you, most of our conversations are not so formal. So this is kind of cool to do. So, anyways, great questions. And, the fixed and variable side of things is something me and you have talked about a good bit and really has become a hot topic uh, for us talking to a network. I think that the fixed and variable departments they're pretty complementary, I think, to each other. And I think that a strong fixed department can help fuel a great variable department, and vice versa. I think that there's some communication issues that you see between the two of them occasionally, and I think that that's where our product can really help, is just help streamline processes of how you build the value, from a variable perspective in that in the fixed, specifically in the recon. So, a lot of dealerships are investing a lot of money into their recon, in the reconditioning of their cars, and what we aim to do is help the sales team or the variable team build the value of that recon process to the customer. So that way they're educated in the ways that they recondition the car and in the investment that they make, getting the car ready for the lot. I mean, that's, if you look at the two departments, your variable department should be one of your fixed department's biggest customers. Your pre-owned lot spends about as much money in your fixed department as anybody, because, every car goes through recon, and sometimes they're spending anywhere from, depending on the kind of car, anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 or more in reconditioning these cars. So a lot of money gets transferred back and forth here, and the dealership is investing a lot of money in the quality of those cars. And so often we see that we put all this money into the car and we don't educate the customer about that process that we've done. And I think it's an opportunity to change kind of the notion that this reconditioning money that we're doing and this investment we're putting into our cars is an expense, because really it's not an expense. It's an investment, especially if it's sold correctly and you educate the customer about it. So that's where our product really helps. And that's what kind of we see.
Seve, how did you innovate this idea? How did it come about?
Um, So I come from a dealer background. My family's been in the business since the late '60s. My grandfather got started in the business, actually just used car lot in Parkersburg, West Virginia, which is where my hometown is, where I'm from. And he started building used car lots, and then ended up opening up a Buick Opel dealership, and then after that we got Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Mercedes Benz, and now we've got a couple Benz stores, JLR, Volvo, Audi, Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep. So families in the business, building the dealer group. I started, like most people in the business, that parents are in automotive. Started by washing cars back in high school and worked my way up through. So, I was working actually in the showroom, working with dad stores every day. This is back in 2012. So we've been at this, almost a decade of what we're doing. But the big challenge we had when I was working in the showroom is we, had this back in 2012. You kind of roll your clock back. There was a lot of focus on the internet and our websites and lead generation from third parties like Cars.com and AutoTrader. And dad stores were pretty unique. Were one price stores, which isn't as unique now, but back in 2012 it was very unique. And we had to do a very good job at building the value of our cars and our processes, because we didn't have the price as like a crutch to lean back on and just drop price for folks. So we had a hard time doing that with the digital customer. In person, it worked really well because we would sit them down. get our folder out with all of our information on the car. We'd show them the Carfax. We'd show them the original sticker on the car, the build sheet. We'd show them all of the Recon receipts, all the stuff about the warranty. We'd really take time to educate the customer about our car and our processes. And that made them feel more comfortable. They were, it also set an expectation of what other stores should show. And ultimately, it just built value in the entire process. And people will pay for that peace of mind. But when it came to the digital customer, we had no way of getting all that paper to them. I mean, it's kind of hard to shove paper through a phone. So we said, we got to digitize this. And, there was also a tremendous amount of work that went around trying to build a folder on every car we had. I mean, a lot of dealers have built evidence manuals forever. I mean, it's one thing I told you, my grandfather got in the business back in the 60s. When I showed him what we had built here, he said, well, I've been building evidence manuals since the 60s. Well, you didn't do anything different here. And, I kind of laughed at that at the time, but it's true. Good foundational process. It transcends, time periods and the way that people communicate, and building value using documentation. It has always helped, build a value, whatever it is that you're selling. And that's kind of how we come up with it. We needed a better way to get information to our customer. So we built it for Dad's store. We never intended to sell it to anybody. It just kind of snowballed from there.
Well, that's a great story. And as I understand it, how it works is not only is all the information they need displayed on their website now, and everything is kind of there in one place, but salespeople can send that package of information to their customers and see exactly what things they're interested in and follow up on. So is that generally how it works? And can you maybe you've got some results that you've seen that you could share with us?
Yeah, I mean, that's generally, what our software, our solutions do, at their core. I mean, we've built a lot of, kind of spin-off products that help complement the core functionality of our products. But the core functionality is that our products build digital evidence manuals for your inventory, both on the new side and the pre-owned side. And every car is different. It's got a different story to tell. So, people are going to see value in different styles of documentation, and every dealership wants to show different things. And we've built processes in place to be able to take these evidence manuals and really customize them down to the dealer level. And we've given the sales team the ability to take this information and just quickly share it with the customer through multiple digital avenues and, in person, every just about every salesperson's got an iPad, or they got a phone, or they got a computer at their desk. Now, when you've got customers on the lot, you can bring that customer inside. You got a non-evasive reason to bring them off the lot. Hey, let me show you more about this vehicle. We collect all the information possible, so that way you can make an educated decision. We're committed to transparency, everything down to the Recon receipts and their Recon process. So when you come inside, we'll show you through it. They can spin their computer around, and they've got access to all of their inventory and all the documentation of all their cars right on demand, even if they're in a group. So, we see that a lot with bigger groups that we work with, to where you can quickly, access all the information from all the other stores as well. And, I think that's important, because now we've got digital customers, and not everybody visits us in the showrooms the way that they used to. So you want to be able to quickly be able to pivot, pull from inventory of all these different places, especially when inventory is scarce, and be able to sell it like you traded for it, have all the information there. And then on the backside of this, after the salesperson, sends out that information, a couple things happen. One, the customer is now educated that there's more information about this car. And more information about making a decision maybe they thought. The customer has kind of been trained by, I guess, just the way that dealers market, that price is the driving factor. If you got a good price, then you got a good deal. And the reality is that's just not the case. Not all the time. There's more to a pre-owned car than just the price and the history report of the car. In the automotive industry, as a industry, I guess, long time. Our family's been in the business for a long time. So, as industry experts, we see cars every single day that have history reports that are great, no accidents, one owners, that we end up sending to the auction because mechanically they're a mess. They don't meet the grade to even be put on the lot. We can't justify the investment to get them right. And if the customer is making decisions solely on price and the history report, there's more to it. And the Recon portion of that is such an important piece, because not all cars are reconditioned the same way. And the customer, if they buy that car that's been reconditioned poorly, they're potentially on the line for those repairs in the future. And every customer's felt the sting of a service department when they go in and have an unexpected repair. That's real money that the customer needs to take into consideration. And we speak to transparency a lot with our dealerships, but the receipts are how you verify that. If you did the work, there'll be a receipt for it, and that's how our product works. But by putting together that platform, and then on the back end of it, being able to see how the customer engages with this information, and then giving the management team a way to hold their team accountable, what you end up building is a standardized sales process. So it doesn't matter if you've been in the lot, the car business for 1 month or 20 years. Every salesperson across all your locations is pitching the car and the information that the management wants pitched. And that's how you scale and reproduce good process. So that's really at our core. It's less about the documentation and more about your process as a dealer and making sure it's scalable.
Seve, if I'm a general manager and I'm listening to this, and my primary concerns are the sales cycle, and keeping my sales process efficient. In other words, I want to drive down the sales cycle. I want to keep the customers focused on my value proposition, and I want my salespeople to spend the least amount of time trying to educate customers. How does this fit with that?
Well, there's really a larger goal if you're a general manager, I think, and you're looking at this, is the sales cycle of a vehicle doesn't start whenever it hits the lot. It starts when it hits your inventory. So you've got to have good processes in place to be able to get the car reconditioned in the right way, the way that you want the dealership to be able to recondition and get the car put out on the lot efficiently, quickly, and something that's repeatable. And then once it's there, your sales team has to have information to be able to sell the value of that process and get it out the door quickly. The inventory turn is not a big issue at the moment. Everybody it's kind of a market where you can't miss, right? I mean, we're seeing historic grosses, we're seeing historic inventory turn numbers, but the reality is even in this good market, great market, historical market, the dealers that have the best processes in place and hold their team accountable to those processes are still performing better than others. It's important, I think, especially when times are really good. It's easy for our team to skip steps. It's easy for them to, cut corners and still have tremendous success. And that's a great thing, but it also can be a dangerous thing because in the future, we know that the market eventually will return to some sort of a norm. It can't stay the way that it is forever. And when it returns, is our sales team going to be prepared to operate with precision like we need them to be able to operate? Are they going to be invested in their processes? I had a dealer tell me the other day, there's not a lot of dealers out sharpening the saw right now. They feel like, oh, well, we're killing it. We're making all kinds of grosses. Cars are flying off our lot. We don't need sales process tools now. We don't need recon process tools now. We don't need process tools in general. Things are great. But what happens when they die back down? And now our team is forced to have to remember and execute on those processes again and have to be meticulous to be able to operate in a market that's going to be a little different. I mean, listen, we've never seen times like this. So we don't know what the rebound is going to look like. But I feel confident that the dealers that invest in good process they'll be the dealers that lead us into the future.
Sure. My last question for you, Seve. I know you deal with a lot of groups, some of the largest ones, as well as a lot of the medium-sized ones. And what's the common reason that the groups come to iPacket and they want to? They like the idea, they like what you're doing, and they're making decisions across their groups. What's driving that?
I think the groups have, they have the same problems that a normal used car lot would have. So, in your showroom, you're worried about how you're going to get all your sales teams to operate efficiently. Well, the group has that same problem, but instead of a sales team, they've got dealerships. So it scales exponentially once you've got stores all over the country. And then how do I make a good, solid, repeatable model that shows good returns, that, if I doesn't matter, kind of to speak to standardization of processes, it doesn't matter which store you walk into. If I'm, XYZ Motors, I walk in, and it doesn't matter if I walk into a store in Alabama or I walk into a store in California, I get that same consistent process that the dealership can then tweak, stand behind, and hold their team accountable to. And I think that's where, when the groups look at our product, they see, number one, a cost savings from an automation standpoint. If you think evidence manuals are a good idea, you think building value in the car instead of just dropping your price is a good idea, which I think a lot of dealerships now do. We've all done that race to the bottom game. It's not a fun one. Market-based pricing, it can be manipulated based upon, power booking your cars and poor options. The dealers with, in some cases, I guess, the worst car with the best Carfax and the lowest price wins. And that's not the way this should be done. And I think the groups see that, and what they're looking for is a way to get their sales team better information, hold them accountable, and have a repeatable, standardized sales process that's manageable, which is something really the automotive industry's never had. I mean, the 30 car guy in your showroom, guy or gal in your showroom, they've got a process of doing things that makes them better than everybody else. If you think about the best salesperson in your showroom, they're better for a reason. And what we want to do is figure out why they're better, what those processes are, adapt that model to their iPacket system, and then scale that out to your network. Whether your network is a showroom or it's 100 plus dealerships across the United States, scaling good process always shows good returns.
Well, this is really exciting. So I really have to take my head off to you and what you guys have created here. It's pretty extraordinary, and I really like the synergy that we're building with you guys. I think it helps not just a single point a dealership, but it does, I think, bridge across the groups as well. Consistent processes it's all about that. Certainly from my standpoint, in the area of reconditioning and what we've started here, I think this just plays really right in front of not only the stores, but the groups. So I really appreciate your time today and getting some insight from you as to what's going on in your world. And I appreciate the time you take to work with us as well. So I want to just thank you, and we're going to try and get back together the next couple of months and kind of see how things are going. So from time to time, I like to be able to reach out to folks like you and kind of figure out, okay, what's changed. We all know we don't know what's going to happen next, so we know we'll have something to talk about. So that's for sure. So thank you. I appreciate your time, and have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Dennis.